we talked about culture. Culture simply means the way of life. That is what culture is. A literal term about culture. How we live our life, that is culture. But when it comes to an organization or a company, we call it corporate culture. That means the company's culture. The ways and values they attach to how they run their organization. So it means this organization as it is, it has its own way of operations. So the way the organization operates is called the organizational culture. Do we understand what culture is? Okay. So we have classification of culture. We have culture that are powerful, which is simply talk about a centralized authority. So in this organization, the power comes from the central authority. So everybody follows what that individual does. That is a power culture. There's a centralized authority. There's a central manager or director that makes decisions about what happens or the affairs of the organization. That's why we call it a power culture. Do we understand power culture here? Power culture simply puts emphasis on that individual that runs the organization. So you can't be that powerful if you don't have that charisma. So because you have the charisma, that's why you are controlling the organization. That is a power culture. Do we get power culture now?
Yes.
Then the next one is role culture. For role culture, we're simply talking about the role responsibilities of individuals in that organization. So not that individual. The individual might be small in terms of age, but because of what the role he performs or she performs, you have to see him as superior. That is role culture. Can you stop that already? That is what role culture is about. So it means you don't put emphasis on that individual, but the role occupied by that individual. Do you get it?
Yes.
I might be the youngest in this organization. Let's assume this is an organization. I'm the youngest, but I have power based on the fact that I perform a role that you cannot perform.
Okay.
Do you get it? So you're not respecting me based on age. You're respecting me based on the position I hold. That is role culture. Do you get role culture now?
Yes.
The third one. So that's why I said I wrote. This occurs where decision making is strictly through established rules and regulations. Company's policy. This simply means that the role played by individual are more important than the individual. So the role they play is more important than that individual. The individual might be small in age, and you guys are even older than me. But we don't think about that. We think about the role I'm holding, the position I'm holding. Do we get it now, please?
Yes.
Do you get it now? The next one is person culture. For person culture, this was where we were talking about specialization, right? For person culture, it's simply talking about the organization having different experts in walk of life, but they are not working together. So each individual has skills, expertise, but they are good enough to make decisions, but they are not working together. That is person culture. It is not the same as specialization. Specialization is simply talking about the constitution of an individual in one aspect of production. That is specialization. But here we're talking about the management style, the company's way of organization, how the company is being ruled. So in that company, they have different individuals with experts, but they're not working together. That is person culture. Do we get person culture now?
Yeah.
Do we get it, please?
Yeah.
Then we go to cultural dimension. For cultural dimension, we're talking about different values placed to culture. And what are the components? The first one, the power distance. When we talk about power distance, we're simply talking about the distance between the manager and the subordinate. It is always expected that the manager has more superior power than the subordinates. Who are the subordinates? The people under the manager. So there's always a power distance. The manager is powerful than the subordinate. It's real sense. It's reality. Because it's the manager, you are the subordinate. The next one, individualism. This is how the people see themselves within the organization. What do you think you are in the organization? Who are you within the organization? That is individualism. The next one is masculinity and femininity. When we're talking about masculinity and femininity, we're talking about how the organizational structure is so strict or flexible. So the organization, if they call the organization a masculine organization, it means they are assertive. That means it's forceful and competitive. Man, like a man, like how things are with men. But if it is feminine, it means they are cooperative and caring in that organization. I think we get the point now. Uncertainty avoidance. When we talk about uncertainty avoidance, this is a situation whereby the company would try to find a way to not go into, to take risk. So for them to take a risk or to make a decision about taking a risk, they have to see an evidence, you have to give them a proof, and also you have to an evidence or security. Before we take decision in this organization, we need evidence, proof, and security that things are fine before we make decision. This allows them to avoid taking a huge risk. So these are what cultural dimension is about. Ways in which the organization is being run. For culture, for the classification of culture, we're talking about how the organization is being run based on the individuality. We have the power, which is a centralized one. We have the role culture, which is the individual performing the role. We have the task culture, which talks about, or which I didn't talk about task culture anyway, but task culture simply talks about giving power to those who can easily complete a task. Oh, because you can do the job well, you are powerful. You become the one that takes decision. That's what task culture is. Is it clear now? Any question about it?